Warsaw, the prequel and epilogue to my trip into Ukraine. The capital city of Poland, today it is a true, modern, metropolitan city. But it wasn't always like this. It wasn't always this pretty and put together. Less than 100 years ago, this city survived some of the worst atrocities that the human race has ever committed. German occupation, the destruction brought by World War II, and then of course being occupied a second time, but this was by the Soviets. Before I left for a place facing a lot of these same issues of genocide, mass destruction, and, of course, Russian invaders, I wanted to see a place that had recovered, and Warsaw was just such a place. All that being said, we might as well start from the end, right? I mean, who needs linear time anyway? I'm sure that nothing could go wrong. Castle Square is a location I've wanted to shoot for a long time, and surprisingly, I actually think I nailed it in this first shot. Colorful buildings and the dude in the orange jacket just adding a little bit of flair into this otherwise dreary day. The statue and the lights all coming together at different heights, rhymes, to gently guide your eye through that top part of the image. Was Portra 400 the right film stock for this? Maybe not. But I am still happy with how it came out. What are the chances you think he lets me take a photo of him? Let's try it. English? Polish?
Hello.
Hello. Photo?
But you know, it's cost big donation.
USD only.
I accept in dollars. I accept in pounds, euros.
Everything, right?
Everything what I could change, what I could use.
Take me a moment to get set up. I have a film camera, so.
Oh my.
Light reading. Absolutely devastating news for anyone who enjoys their photos in focus. The Mamiya 6 Automat that I just used in my last video has developed somewhat of a focusing problem. The doctors reassure me that it is not, in fact, ADHD, but that the rangefinder has shifted ever so slightly. I mean, this shot was never going to be good in the first place. I rushed into it, had too many cameras in my hand, and God, I mean, look at that composition. This was never going to be a good shot. But now I can completely blame it on the focus being off. So I did nothing wrong, and you cannot convince me otherwise. This guy is actually super interesting though, and I want you to hear a little bit more from him. He is let me check my notes, an American Civil War reenactor. Wait. So Gettysburg, why Gettysburg?
Because I also make reenactment Polish regiment from the Civil War.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know the era really well.
Yes, I know.
Okay. Oh, you got an expert. I lucked out.
I am second lieutenant in the 13th Infantry Regiment from Louisiana.
Okay.
And of part, it was the part Polish Legion.
That was volunteered, right?
Yep.
Excellent.
It was for the group.
Let me get ready. There we go. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Excellent.
You know,
Thank you, my friend.
in Potomac Army, we also have a bigger unit. Well, it was the German-Polish Brigade, Commandant Colonel Włodzimierz Krzyżanowski. In Gettysburg Battle, he saved the Potomac Army. Even in the Chancellorsville Battle, he stabbed Jackson.
Wow.
He trying to stop the Jackson. That's
Right.
the Jackson that make this plan what they want to do.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why the Polish soldier fight in each war, in US, even in US.
Right.
Now it's not only Kościuszko which built. He was built West Point. Not only Puławski, which created the first cavalry, but also group of the Polish soldiers, Polish officers from both sides. Krzyżanowski in Confederacy Army, Kacper Tochman, and I not remember the name, but the main chief of the artillery Kentucky State was also the Polish general.
Yeah, of course, right?
You could check that. And
You've given me a lot to Google. I will
yes,
research.
it is. This is history in Poland. Not popular. Almost no one know anything about this. We have only one good book about the Civil War, and from the early 60s, from 20th century. This is only one book.
That's a shame for all that
Yep,
history on there.
It's not popular, you know.
I guess, yeah.
The main information, main knowledge the Polish people takes from the north and south serial, and some passionists like me, some fanatics of the military, watching the Gettysburg movie or God and the Generals.
Yes.
Yeah, but only few very
Only
short
few.
groups.
Yeah.
Because the Gettysburg is a long movie for my wife. How you can watch that? 4 hours of one battle without the romance? What? But for me, it's a great action.
Out of the 12 shots of Portra 400 in the Mamiya 6 automat, I got like 2 keepers and 1 portfolio piece. Of course, the other shots were either all horribly out of focus or were shot in Ukraine, but those ones were also horribly out of focus. Devon did not focus this week, and that was not the end of my time in Warsaw. But hey, look, I found this cool bike. Being just barely March, I knew nothing would have sprung yet, but that's actually why I chose to load my Olympus XA with Wolfen NC400, and it kicked ass. The neutral color tones look paired really well with that early spring depresso vibes. Huh, ironic. Tones and vibes. That's so 2020. As the day went along, I was lucky enough to keep some of that good fog around. Days like this in a place like Warsaw are beautiful in a depressing, melancholic way that I just want to kind of walk around and be a sad boy. Oh, wait, I saw a shot. Hold on. This is actually one of the places I wanted to go the most in Warsaw. You'd be forgiven for just seeing this as a street, but the 4 buildings here are the most well-known and well-preserved residence for Jewish families in the old Warsaw ghetto. These buildings survived the destruction brought down after the Warsaw Uprising. I do wonder how many tourists walk down these roads without even knowing this history. You see, since 2011, these 4 buildings are being modernized, updated to serve the needs of the ever-expanding city. But the bones of these buildings are old and have seen things I'm sure could never be properly communicated. There was actually an art exhibit in the alleyway here that I wanted to see. A controversial piece, to say the least. Bars. It was a statue of Hitler on his knees, asking for forgiveness. Like I said, it was a controversial piece, and one that I believe was meant to shock. I do wish I could have taken a photo of that, though. I wanted to see this building, the Noziak Synagogue, the only surviving synagogue that was not utterly destroyed by Nazis in Warsaw. They actually used it as a warehouse. Miraculously, that is probably the only reason it still stands today. Even in writing this, I don't think I could describe the emotions and the weight of being there. I can still feel them, even while writing this. This area of Warsaw was at one time razed to the ground. An event took place called the Warsaw Uprising, one that I'm sure the majority of my viewers are not familiar with. I mean, most of my viewers come from America, and I know how bad our education system can be. The events of the uprisings are actually quite complex and do deserve a deeper dive. I would recommend anyone to go listen to Margaret Killjoy's podcast, Cool People Who Do Cool Stuff. and their two-parter on the uprisings, as I highly recommend that. Today, I would like to read you a quote about the uprisings, though. Quote, "On April 19, 1943, on the eve of the Jewish holiday of Passover, and at the same time Hitler's birthday, Nazi General Jürgen Stroop arrived in Warsaw to carry out an action to finally deport Jews. The ZOB and Jewish Military Union, formed from the former members of the Polish Army, launched an uprising in the Warsaw Ghetto that lasted almost a month. The rebels used the ghetto's buildings and bunkers as barricades from which they fired. Soon the Nazi troops found the rebels' bunkers and called on them to surrender. They refused. Anielewicz Wellner urged the rest of the combatants not to surrender alive to the Nazis. Alenovich and several other insurgents refused to do so and eventually committed suicide. The final chord of the uprising in the ghetto was the burning of the Great Warsaw Synagogue on May 16, 1943, which was one of the locations of the armed struggle. Surviving ghetto Jews were soon deported to Treblinka. The rest of the ZOB fighters survived, but later took part in the Warsaw Uprising of 1944. Their heroic example inspired the Jewish population in other ghettos and concentration camps to continue the armed struggle against the occupiers. This is from the Museum of Jewish Memory and Holocaust in Dnipro, Ukraine. I can't imagine why I would choose that source. I wanted to bring you all to one last spot here. This wall, the last part standing of the wall of the ghetto. It felt important to be here. Aside from my love of history, I had somewhat of a selfish reason for seeing these sites. As mentioned before, I knew where I would be going next. A country at war and a people facing genocide. I wanted to know that one day, after victory, that things could be okay again. That the friends I would make and the ruined places that I would go, that somehow, some way, life could grow past this hell. I mean, even in writing this script, I don't think it was a conscious choice on my end. I knew it was important and relevant to what I would be stepping into next. I guess I just didn't know how much of that was true at the time. Well, Devin, now that your video has narrative whiplash at levels unseen till now, how the hell are we going to get this back on track? And the answer is, I don't know. But hey, look, I found this cool bike. I won't hold it against them for putting the American up in the building with the giant McDonald's logo on top, although I do feel targeted. Out of the 36 exposure roll of the Orwo Wolfen 400NC, I had 8 keepers. I actually forgot to add this one to chart, my bad. And while I can't say all 4 of these are portfolio pieces, I do think they're a rather interesting set. Out of the 36 exposures on my roll of Kodak T-Max 400, I had 5 keepers, 2 potential portfolio pieces, and this one. God, I love this shot. But you haven't seen this shot yet, have you? Maybe I messed around with the timeline a little too much. Oh, hold on. Let me. Okay, hold on. I'm going to try to reset us now. Just hang. Welcome to Warsaw, scholars. A temporary stop before heading into Ukraine, but that won't stop me from picking up a shot or two. Today we're bringing the Canon AE1 with that good Carl Zeiss Jena Tessar 50mm f2.8, and of course we're rocking that lovely sunset leather strap made by my boy Josh. Shout out to him, his stuff is linked down below. Go pick yourself up something nice. And of course I've loaded it up with the Kodak T-Max 400. I also loaded up the Olympus XA with Orwo's new 400NC film. And for my medium format, I loaded up my Mamiya 6 Automat with that good Portra 400. I brought this camera because it was really reliable and quite sharp, so it will be my only medium format option for the entirety of my 7.5 weeks going to Ukraine. I'm sure there will be no difference in that quality. I don't know if you can see it from here, but that is our end goal for the day. We'll see if we get there.